welcome to another Saturday of Leadership Conversation. And today I have a special guest, Keji Moses. I say special guest, we have done lives before, and KG has had shared so much on this platform in terms of her wisdom, her experience, and her expertise when it comes to self discovery. So I will let her introduce herself. Just to introduce myself to my new connections, anybody who has recently subscribed to my YouTube channel or is somebody connected to me on LinkedIn. I'm Monwara Ali, and I love everything around advocacy and championing women in leadership. So, leadership development is my thing. I'm a coach consultant, but also a CEO of a charity and a CIC. So, great to have you here when you join. And if not, you can watch replay on my YouTube channel. And please feel free to ask KG or myself any questions in the comments. We might be in the flow once KG comes on board, because I'm really excited to have this conversation with her, see what's happening in her world, and with a lot going on in London, UK at the moment. Just a shout out to our friends who are out there who've had a very, very difficult week this week. I hope you have got through the worst, and my best wishes to your family and your friends. So I'm gonna, without delay, invite KG in.
Good morning, Monwara. Good morning, everyone. I'm Keji Moses, and I am the founder and CEO of Maya's Legacy, which is a registered UK charity. And we've been going on for just over 4 years now. And yes, and we support families who've experienced pregnancy loss, and we focus on advocacy for an equitable maternal care, a compassionate maternal care. And we've done many works in collaboration with the NHS, East Kent NHS Trust. And if you go on our website, there's so many resources for you to be able to explore. So I'm happy to be here. I do wear many other hats, but we're just going to focus on that Maya's Legacy this morning.
KG, thank you so much. You have such a busy schedule to make the time and to be here today. I just wanted to acknowledge as well that, yes, KG wears lots of hats. A lot of them are in service. So through and through, she's a servant leader, in my opinion. And I think, having you here today to talk about, I think, some things that aren't related to your roles as such, but like, you are very passionate about empowering women, and you do that in several different ways, KG. What has your experience been like working with other charities? I mean, you are always connecting via Maya's Legacy and the work that you do in Canterbury.
Say that again.
What's your experience been like, connecting with other charities?
Yeah.
Have the challenges been similar to Maya's Legacy?
Yes, I think, talking to different charities, charities are going through a very, very hard time at the moment in terms of getting access to funding and the support that they need to be able to deliver their services. And so, I think that the work that different charities do, is not appreciated enough for the wider scheme of things in terms of on the government level, to understand that we are providing services that is actually supporting the work of the government, or the work of the nation, really. I mean, if you think about homelessness, you think about domestic violence, you think about baby loss, those spaces and you think of those charities that every single day have volunteers, hundreds of volunteers volunteering their times to be able to deliver this work. And if you look at the pay packet for, people working in the charity sector, is nothing to write home about. So, to work in the charity sector is literally you're doing it because you care, not because you're trying to make X amount of money out of it. But it's good that, in my role, within the charity sector and outside of that, I'm able to connect with different charities. And one thing I do is connect the different services together. So if I see that there's a need in a particular area and I have someone else who can kind of fit that gap, I'm able to connect those dots and get things moving.
That's powerful. It's really powerful. I mean, you said that there's a disparity between how maybe funders think of charities or even donors, people that could be donating to some of those causes, and what charity is all about. I mean, I've been in the charity sector for more than 30 years, and I've chosen to be because makes me feel good, to be able to serve, to be able to help people. So, what do you think funders should be now looking at? Like, if in terms of organization, especially with the recent problems around racism and rioting, etc., and how that might be affecting charities. Do you feel like funders need to be waiting for charities to knock on their doors, or should they be a little bit more proactive and start thinking about, okay, what do these charities need now?
I mean, to be quite honest with you, I mean, when this whole situation happened, I have to really give credit to the National Lottery, because they did send an email out to every, I think they sent out an email out to every organization that they funded to say, we're here for you if you need an extra support or you need extra funding, we're happy for you to contact us. And they are being proactive in that sense, understanding that something had happened and it might have an impact on some of the charities that they funded, and sending that email out that quickly, it was a good thing to do. And so it gives charity the flexibility to reach out really and get that extra support that they need. But I think in terms of funding, I think that, that for me, I think the future really is collaboration and partnership. And I think that, and I know that some funders really encourage that. And I think moving forward, we need to really encourage that, that organization should work together to be able to deliver services, and to be creative about it. So within, a particular area, you can have different charities having different their own base, like office base, or where they work from. And you could actually have one building that's just dedicated to charities, where first, second, third floor, different organization are working with those within that same building, and can that drives down costing, as well as, I could be on the first floor and I'm and I'm offering certain services, and another charity on the second floor knows that, so they have, you know service users, accessing their services. They can say, actually, go to the first floor. We have, Maya's legacy there, and they're able to support you. And I think we have to start being creative about the way that we do things, because the cost of living crisis has affected charities as well. And what I hear often from CEOs and charity um, executive is that the pot is small, is getting smaller. And I don't think we want a situation where we're competing against each other, because we're all doing really incredible work. So for us to be able to get to that place, to understanding that working together and partnership is powerful, and we are able to deliver the services more efficiently.
Yeah, no, that's a really valid point, and you said a lot in that, KG, picking up on collaboration and picking up on the value of thinking ahead in terms of money getting smaller and smaller. Collaboration is hard because we're often competing for the same pot. And yeah, and also I've noticed that funders don't want to necessarily tell us because they want us to take the lead in the collaboration. But I've
Mm,
been in situations where sometimes the funder could have had a bigger influence on encouraging organizations to work together. Because I
mhm,
think it's really hard when we don't know what we don't know. A popular phrase of mine. We've always worked this way, for example. It's really hard to think how we could creatively work differently. It takes a lot of willpower, and strengths to think or accept and embrace uncertainty. And that has to come from leadership. I know my Saturday lives are all about leadership. That willingness to embrace uncertainty and how we must change moving forward, because when society changes, we as charities, we as organizations need to change too. Has to come from the top. There's no point me banging a drum if I'm two levels low and somebody right at the top just has anxiety, high levels of anxiety about uncertainty because they only want things to be done a certain way. Has to be done this way, otherwise it's not going to work. And I think one of the hats I wear is around equity, diversity, and inclusion. And you can't not what's the word I'm looking for? I guess achieve inclusion. You cannot embrace diversity or accept diversity until you are willing to embrace doing things differently. So it's very, very, like powerful what you said in terms of the way forward. What worries me is, yes, the money is less and less. The trust levels are still the same because, it takes years to build trust. It's great to say, let's collaborate, but collaboration is very much dependent on trust, and trust doesn't happen overnight. So you got to get these. I'm in a couple of groups where you've got a very, very mixed group, individuals from diverse backgrounds, from diverse organizations operating differently. And then what's going to happen is also a bit of conflict and disagreement, and you know but that's the joy of the world. We are different, yet when you put us together we complement. So I guess one of my thing was around what you said about encouraging maybe funders to also encourage organizations to be working collaboratively. I'm not saying force, but like there are ways to do it. I mean, I've been in a situation where we were forced to collaborate with a group where w our setup didn't align with theirs, so it wasn't a great collaboration. But I think where we keep our minds open, and we know that funders want to fund organizations that work in collaboratively, surely it's a win-win, because at the end of the day, who are we doing it for?
yeah, I totally agree. Yes, yeah. I mean, I guess it'll be good to have organizations around the table where we can all strategize and see how we could work together better and move things forward. Show the enormous contribution that charities make in the whole scheme of things. And I guess, when it comes to when you touched on diversity and touched on inclusion, and you and I have had this conversation before about self-discovery and self-awareness. And if I am aware about my own strengths and weaknesses, or I'm aware about my own challenges, then that that in a way put me at an advantage, because then I could in situation appreciate other people that are not like me. I'm at an advantage, because then even in situations in real time, when I feel like I am shifting away from my values, or I'm shifting away from the things that I hold dear, because I'm self-aware, I can bring myself back,
Mm,
because I'm able to reflect on my thoughts. I'm able to reflect on the way I behaved. And that's what I do, like in situations where I may have done something that I thought, okay, actually, you shouldn't have done that. I'll take the time to think, reflect on it, and think about it, and see how I can make it better. Or even if it means that I have to apologize to the individuals, I'm able to do that. And I think it makes you a better leader when you realize that you don't have all the answers, and when you realize that actually you yourself, you're still on the journey, and your that journey to whatever you want to call it, perfection or whatever it may be, it takes you twists and turns, right? But I think in our society we don't give room for people to make mistakes
mm,
and to get back up again. As soon as somebody does something wrong or make a wrong decision, it's more of, we want to counsel them. We don't want them, we shout for their heads to be cut off or something. I mean, I'm not saying cut off, but just to
yeah, it gets a little bit too people
yeah,
get too passionate.
yeah, that person needs to resign, that person needs to go. But actually, if we give people a lot more grace, I think people will be a lot more transparent and be more open about the challenges and the difficulties that they do have. And that in itself, it's a learning curve. And so, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to inclusion, diversity, and equity and equality, it comes down to, who are you, what is your values, and who do you see yourself becoming in this space, and what leader do you want to become, and being strategic about that from the onset, and so everything you do aligns to that.
Mm, mm. And I think that it requires a level of, I agree completely with you, it requires a level of humility and accepting that, as much as you know who you are, that self awareness, the others are also viewing you in a certain way. And we're all, as human beings, at risk of, at danger of judging or assuming because of our internal biases. As, say, for example, an Asian woman who may have never been acknowledged or disregarded for all the things that she has had an impact on or contributed towards, completely disregarded or not acknowledged, is likely to hold that assumption or those feelings into any situation and may not have the courage to then say, you know what, I can take that leadership role because I know that I can do it. Because it may not even be that they can't do it. They may have never been given the opportunity. So, in a roundabout way, I've come to opportunities. Because one of the other things I do, KG, as you know, like we both do in our different ways, is role modeling and for other women who look like us by what we do. We, in many ways, know that opportunities are not easy, especially for the younger generation. They don't come easily. However, we know, like, beyond the period we're in now, in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, we need to have young women feeling confident enough to step into some of those leadership roles, because I think there has always been a culture of living in fear of making mistakes, because in public, when you do make a mistake, the reaction is really bad. So I think it comes from a place of people wanting to safeguard. Like, the thing is, again, I would say there are so many perspectives. This is just you and I, and just two people's perspectives. What we understand, somebody else may see as or understand as control. Somebody else might see it as ignorance, lack of self awareness, reluctance to develop a learning culture within your organization. There are so many perspectives, but I think the reality is that without that courage or bravery, that we're not going to get something right, because we've never done it before. So it's a bit of trying and testing. An organization would really struggle to grow. Like many of the big organizations that we know, like, how many times have they made mistakes and got to where they got to now? Like, maybe some of those mistakes we haven't even heard about or unaware of. And then, like, 5 years on, they've now gone on a podcast and shared with us all the mistakes they made along the way. It's all very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of how I got here, um, you know, many things contributed to that. And I remember my boss, I think I was just turned 20, and I got this executive role position, and I will never forget this guy, Don. It was an Asian man. He was well connected, and he gave me the opportunity as a young person to be his executive assistant. And I did not, at that moment, I didn't really know what I was doing. Even the interview, I really messed up at the interview. And he looked at me and he says, "Don't worry, I'm going to help you." You know, Don, Don De Silva, a lovely man. He said, "Don't worry, I'm going to help you." And he took me on,
Mm.
and he supported me where he knew that I needed support. He got other people to support me and help me, and that built my confidence to the point that I was now able to oversee. At that moment, they just introduced the teachers training testing centers at that time, and I was able to mentor. He gave me a chance. He saw the potential and he gave me a chance. And a lot of the experiences and training that I've had over the years came through for me from volunteering young people into we talk about young people into roles of senior and leadership role. I want to encourage young people from early on to volunteers within organization, because through volunteering I got training. I was sent on training, development training, personal development, all different things that I had access to at that point, that build that confident muscle, and also gave me access into rooms that I may not find myself, was through that volunteering, right? And I guess it comes to a point when you then from then you can leverage on those experiences. But at some point you've got to have to give that time, I think. in some, and also it gives you access to people that you will meet, and they will see the potential in you, and offer to mentor you, or offer to help you to your next to the next level. But it's not going to happen you sitting at home. It's not going to happen with you not throwing yourself out there. It's not going to happen. I mean, we talk about visibility. Yes, visibility in terms of, you're online and people see you and things like that, but also visibility in terms of being willing enough to go to places where you may be uncomfortable at first being there. You might be the only person there that looks like you, but that's okay, right? Or you might be in a room where you're like, oh my goodness, everyone in here knows more than me, or everyone in here is more qualified, or whatever the situation may be. But just having the courage to stay there and learn what you need to learn, and that will take you to the next level. So I think it's opportunities come and go, and some opportunities we don't recognize.
Mm,
So when I was, and we're not ready for, I
mm,
always use this story when I was very young. This organization is still, like, I think it's 14, more than 20 years now. It's still running very strong as a charity called Listening Ears. And I remember the CEO and the founders came to me. I was very young. I was still, you know, yeah, in my early 20s. And she said, I went in, I wanted to volunteer because they were offering services, listening services to older members of our community who are lonely. And she said, and I saw it in the newspaper, and I said, yeah, I could volunteer for this. I rang up, I went, and I volunteered. And she said to me, she called me and she said, actually, we can do this together. You and I can start this charity, and we can run it together. I was like, yeah. And then I got scared, and
mm,
I did not take that opportunity on, and I left. And I asked myself that question. We still talk now. She talked to me, and I speak to her. The charity has done incredible work and won
mm,
so many awards, right?
mm,
And as a young person, I did not take on that opportunity because I got scared. I thought this was bigger than me. I
mm,
just didn't focus, and I passed that on and I moved on. But I think, I moved on fair enough, and I've done other things now. But that opportunity could have, helped me with my leadership skills, give me access to many things. And it was a charity that later on that I started. So maybe I could have had a bit of insight into how to run a charity, how to, many, many things when I think about it now. And that's the advice I give to people. Sometimes when opportunity comes, you have to be prepared for it, number one. And even when you're not prepared for it, sometimes you have to do it afraid, right?
yeah.
You have to do afraid, and just to be
KG, you're
stretched
breaking up a
outside of your
little.
company. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's my internet sometimes a little bit all over the place. I mean,
No, it's you're talking about valuable stuff here. Incredibly valuable stuff. KG, are you there?
now that
Okay.
internet is, yeah, coming out of your comfort zone. I'm just trying to say. So yeah, in answer to your question, that's just an example I wanted to give. I know, you said half an hour. I just wanted to bring it out there because, you know I wanted to.
KG, your internet's completely breaking up. So, two very important points you made there about opportunities. One, be prepared as a young person to provide time and to, I think KG's been thrown out of the studio. Apologies. Let me see if I can get her back on.
Am I
There.
back?
Yes, you're back.
Yeah.
So two important points you made there were about opportunities. One was for the next generation, young people, to be prepared to give their time to learn and to grow from a very early age, because and I 100% for that, because I did exactly the same. Started volunteering at the age of 17, and my journey of volunteering wouldn't end because I kept thinking I haven't learnt enough. So I absolutely endorse that 100% for young people listening, any mums, dads, aunties, grandparents. You know a young person, absolutely encourage them to jump on the opportunities via giving your time to a charity by volunteering. And the second point you made about being ready and prepared even if you're afraid, I can imagine, like, talking to a lot of young people and having done youth work, it's quite a scary place to be. But in that situation, you speak to somebody else, another adult, seek a mentor within that organization where or that, like in your case, KG, you talked about the lady who you worked with at Listening Ears, and, she could have been your mentor.
I mean, she over the years she became. I do talk to her, and she's very open. She understood I was young. She understood that I just wasn't ready for that opportunity, or didn't see it as an opportunity. Basically,
Mm.
I see, and so and we still, till today we have that conversation. She checks in on me, checks in on Maya's legacy, and we've been able to build that friendship over the years, and so yeah, I totally agree. Those things are very, very important, because you need people along the way to show you the way, you know and there are people out there who are willing to show you the way, but you have to be in a frame mind of you want to learn, that you don't know everything, that it is a puzzle, right? And you need the different pieces to put it together in order for you to see the whole picture. And so I go into rooms, and I most of the times I go in there to listen, to hear what others are saying, to see how I fit into here, and to see how I contribute into this, and having that attitude of I want to learn, I want to grow. It helps you, in even in difficult and challenging times. And I wanted to throw this in. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, no, carry
Yeah,
on. Let's carry
yeah,
on for a bit longer.
that I
Yeah.
am I am running to be part of the Labour Women's Network executive committee.
Oh,
And
wow.
so yeah, please, if you're part of that, please vote for me. That would allow me to take on a strategic leadership role within the organization. And so yeah, I'm just pushing it out there. Labour's Women's Network exec, executive committee member. I've put my name forward. I'm throwing my name in the hat, and I'm capable of doing this. So let's go. Let's go.
KG, you are 100% capable, and it's wonderful to learn all about your journey, because this is the part of the journey I had no idea about. So it's been very, very interesting just listening to you, because that journey of that 20-year-old who wasn't ready, and then you have this KG here who is ready to be afraid and still throw the hat, like may not know what the role entails, but she's prepared to push beyond her current situation, which is great, because I think that's the lesson learned when you have higher levels of self-awareness.
Mm.
That's why self-discovery is so important. What would you say to somebody? I mean, I guess I have a view and a perspective on this. It's
Mhm.
like, when you follow reflective practice,
Mm.
you're not the same person,
Mm.
because you believe in continual learning and growth. You're
Mm.
not the same person you are today than that you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there are lots of people we work with
Mm.
who are maybe in their 50s and 60s and they still haven't gone through that
Mm.
phase.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very hard sometimes, but like, I guess they say, isn't there a quote about knowing thyself is wisdom, knowing others is.
Mm.
I have to remind myself of that
Yeah.
often.
Yeah. So because I mean, even the same person that offered that quote also said, at the center of your being you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want. So there's this thing that we're discovering our purpose, or we're discovering who we are. Who we are is who we are. The thing about is, like when you're in a room and maybe it's all dark and the light switch comes on and then you can see everything in the room. That's the way I look at it. Sometimes we're in that dark room and we have to switch that light, and it's something that switches that light. For some people it's trauma, some people is a tragic experience that switches the light, and then you look in the room and think, oh my goodness, look at all the different things in this room that I never knew were part of me. They've always been there, right? It's just that that light switch is not there, and that self-awareness, and that is the light switch to allow you to know that you already know who you are. You're not you're not it's not.
You are who you are. That doesn't change.
Yeah, and it's not something on the outside that defines that.
Mm,
It's not something on the outside that defines that. It's already defined. It's about you knowing that. It's about you standing in that. It's about you walking in that. When I walk into the room, I'm not walking into the room of I'm less than,
mm,
or because people in the room have money than I have, or they're more educated, or they have, they have senior roles in within society, that I'm less than. No, no. Who I am is who I am. I'm coming in as who I am, and it's about me just navigating through these spaces, right? And not reducing kg for everybody else, because the minute you start doing that, the world would demand for you to continue to do that. Because what you said is, it is okay for me to shrink myself, right, in these spaces, so that everybody else will feel comfortable about who they are. But if you do that, then eventually you will lose yourself, and that's where the issues and the challenges, of trying to regain that balance back, you might find it difficult to be able to do that. But even in that, it's a lesson, because I've been through that experience where I always question myself: do I show up as, do I change, do I try to adapt myself so that people feel more comfortable? But then the question is, you can never satisfy people,
mm,
because you can never satisfy. Different people will require different things from you, so you cannot not satisfy everyone. So I can't walk around trying to satisfy every single person around here. All I can do is show myself to who I am, stick to my values, respect people, treat people with kindness, treat people with compassion, and treat people how they want to be treated, not how I think they should be treated, how they want to be treated. And that comes with relationship and understanding others. So when the light switch comes on and that light is in the room, and you see how how beautiful and how wonderful you've been created, now it is your responsibility to show up in that every single day.
that is such a beautiful summary, KJ. I'm going to walk into the whole of my weekend with that and next week. You have said it so lovely. And um, your point about wanting, you know, being born this way we're always like this, but it's that it takes a long time for us to sometimes discover it. And some
Yes.
people aren't even interested in discovering who
No.
they really are. And we shouldn't actually, and that point you made, I've learned myself in the last couple of years. And even this past week, I had a similar situation. When you're in a room with, say, 8 other people, and 8 of them have different expectations of what they expect you to do. I love it when a few of them are curious. But a lot of the times you end up in a situation where everybody expects you to behave in a certain way.
Mm,
And it becomes very hard to just do you
mm,
and be you.
mm. You're right.
Yeah, but no, no. I'm not going to look, everything you've said is far too powerful. I'm going to have to re listen to you and post about it, because I think, today's episode has been so eye opening, and I'm sure many listening will have a lot to take away from it. And I want to say a special thank you to you, KG, because
Mm,
you stepped in when 2 of my young people got a bit cold feet.
mm,
And I really appreciate that. I hope
mm.
you, do you want to, you have your last say, and we will say goodbye.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here, and just to encourage whoever's listening, to keep shining. Just shine. That's it.
Keep shining and make the world a better place.
Make the world a better place. Yes.
Thank you, KG. And everyone have